This video is about the War of the Spanish Succession. The war started in 1701 and formally ended in 1714. On the one side there was France with smaller allies, on the other side the Grand Alliance, consisting of most of the major European powers. Back in the day, France was the strongest land power in Europe, but felt threatened by the Habsburg encirclement. There was the Emperor in the east, and the Spanish in the north, Spanish Netherlands, and Spain itself in the south. Charles II of Spain had no children, and this led to a diplomatic crisis because every European power wanted to have its candidate on the Spanish throne. Louis XIV wanted his grandson Philip of Anjou on the Spanish throne, whilst Leopold I said, "Wait, my first son becomes emperor, and my second son is perfect for the Spanish throne." None of these options were right for England and Netherlands, the neighbor powers. They feared that either the Bourbon monarchy or the Habsburg family would get too powerful. They wanted to have Joseph Ferdinand of Bayern on the throne. And they were actually successful and could persuade Charles II to proclaim or declare Joseph Ferdinand as heir to the throne. Unfortunately, Joseph Ferdinand died, and now another agreement had to be reached. You think, very good. The French and the English were successful. They agreed that the Habsburg family should inherit Spain, whilst the French would gain territories, or the Bourbon family would gain territories in Italy. However, Leopold I, the emperor, did not agree, and so this is all gone. Now, Louis XIV could persuade Charles II to declare Philip of Anjou sole heir. Charles II died, and Philip of Anjou becomes Philip V of Spain. Everything points to war, but what definitely then triggers the war, there's no way back anymore, was when Louis XIV recognized the claims of the Catholic Stuart James III on his claims on the English throne. And that is nothing you do with the English back in the day. So England initiated the Grand Alliance. The war started in northern Italy without a declaration of war, but the imperial forces could be repelled at first. In 1702, the war also started in the Spanish Netherlands. Imperial forces then occupied the territories of the French allies within the Holy Roman Empire. It should be mentioned that the Austrian Habsburgs were also engaged in a struggle in the east. There was an Hungarian uprising, not successful, but it lasted nearly the whole time of the war. Savoy enters the war as an ally of the emperor. The same happens in Portugal, whilst Bavaria decides to go to war on the French side. The Dutch forces, or English and Dutch forces, landed in Portugal and also in other parts of the Iberian Peninsula. And important to mention here, the English could conquer Gibraltar. But apart from that, there was no decisive development on the Iberian Peninsula. But the imperial forces won in the Battle of Höchstadt, and the Franco-Bavarian forces were driven back to the River Rhine. From there was advances in both directions, into France and into the empire, but also no decisive result. More important was the war in the Netherlands. Firstly, the French were very, very successful. The ally could just be saved by the Duke of Marlborough. But then the Duke of Marlborough took Brussels and could take control of lots of towns in the Spanish Netherlands. In the south, in Italy, the imperial forces advanced, and they actually had a decisive victory in the Battle of Turin and drove the French out. The French were not back in Italy after this for the remainder of the war. There were repeated invasions of France, but nothing was decisive. The war caused lots of casualties. One example is the Battle of Marquet, which was indecisive. Anyway, the Duke of Marlborough and Prince Eugenie captured several fortifications which protected the heart of France, so it did not look good for France at all. But then there was another event that was important for the war. Emperor Joseph I died, and the only heir to the throne was his brother Charles. And Charles, he was destined to take the Spanish throne. That would mean a Habsburg on the throne of the Holy Roman Empire and in Spain, and that was of course not in the interest of Great Britain and the Netherlands. So there were secret negotiations, and then British troops were held back from the fighting. France used this, and they could turn the war partially. They could defend themselves, winning the Battle of Dinant. The Treaty of Utrecht ended the war, and then a year later the Treaty of Rastatt ended the war between France and the Holy Roman Empire. Now the Bourbon Dynasty was established on the Spanish throne, and they're on the throne till today. But Spain lost her positions in Italy, and especially Spain and France were financially ruined. France could, though, secure her position as a military and political major power and prevent the earlier mentioned Habsburg encirclement. The European balance of powers begins to establish itself. The House of Habsburg gained the Spanish Netherlands, now Austrian Netherlands, and territories in Italy. Great Britain, very important, gained a few territories, but especially Gibraltar, which is in British hands till today. That was the War of the Spanish Succession in 5.